Happy Friday, PSWs and friends across Ontario and Canada. Welcome to PSW Podcast, where we come to you guys live every single Friday at around 11 a.m. to talk about the news of the week for personal support workers, new issues, old issues. We definitely don't talk about we talk about everything and anything. My name is Miranda and I'm the CEO of the Ontario PSW Association, host of PSW Podcast, and I'm joined again by my co-host and Chief Operating Officer of both associations, Ian De Silva. And we are here today to talk about the news this week of personal support workers, what is happening in the PSW field. There's been a lot this week, actually, for PSWs, Ian.
Good and bad. Well, good. I'm not so good and still struggle. So let's. Where do you want to start? We got a lot of stuff to cover. So,
We do have a lot of stuff to cover. I think the first thing was earlier on this week, there was an announcement that came out from the Ministry of Long-Term Care,
yeah.
yet again announcing another incentive that they're trying to pass off as new for PS people if they become personal support workers. They can take the course for free. They can go and do the course, and then they get incentives upon graduation. Thoughts?
well, it's the issue is that it's being presented as a new policy. It's being presented as introduced as a dynamic issue. And the reality is, it was introduced first in 2020. So I think this is be the sixth year that this new policy has been introduced as new. And it's, I think it's a little insulting at this point when you keep reintroducing the same policy to reward new employees when you have PSWs that are on the field that are being ignored. So it's one of those things where we can see that however well intentioned this policy is, it's at the end of the day it's kind of a slap in the face at PSWs that have been in the field for years and are not allowed to have any sort of advantage. Just my opinion
Well, no,
and
no,
what
no.
I'm
And
hearing back from my own membership. So
well,
it
exactly. I mean, and I'm not, and I'm totally on board with that. I mean, back in the day, Ian, you and I've been doing this for a very long time, and there used to be a balance when the
there was,
government would say, okay, we're going to do this for new grads. There would subsequently be something then for the veteran PSWs who have been on the front line, keeping long-term care alive, so that there wasn't that inner fighting or that kind of siloing, shall I
exactly.
say.
Yeah.
And now what we're seeing is, and it makes me mad. And I know it makes a lot of the PSWs mad that are working on the floor in long-term care or in community care or et cetera. It's like, but what about us? Like, we're the ones out here that are, we're the ones that are keeping long-term care alive, we're keeping home care alive. We are battling through some of the worst conditions in healthcare in Ontario that we've seen in decades. And, they're giving their all, and the government has just completely forgotten about them. I mean, that's literally how it kind of plays out right now, is that that's how they feel. And frankly, I agree with them. But then let's talk about the fact, too, that they're bringing in PSWs, like they're promoting again. There's this shortage, Ian, and that's what is baffling to me, because I'm like, there is no shortage. We have PSWs that can't find work because there is no work in a lot of places for PSWs. We have, there's so much inner competition within the PSW field. And now the government is yet again going to push out, a ton of new personal support workers again. But for what? Where? How? How is this going to work?
Well, and that's the issue we've seen. Now we've been dealing with the fallout from some of these individuals that have been hired through not the begin. I'm so sorry, not that's a different program. Who've been hired through the Health Force Ontario incentive, and they're finding the situation that is once their money has run out, or once that incentive period ends, wherever they've relocated, their employer sometimes is like, "Well, we don't want you here now. We're not getting the incentive for the wage, so we no longer want a relationship with that employee that we've asked to move up to this area of Ontario, for example." So it's not a perfect system. It
No.
benefits some. We have members who have benefited from it, but at the end of the day, I think the issue is, and we've echoed this, that you need to be paying attention. You need to offer something, some sort of meaningful change to the personal support workers that are actually in long-term care doing this job all the time and are not able to participate in a incentive program and have no reason to be incentivized to stay. So it's a concern. And yeah, I think that's the point. Now, again, I think what we want to do is to see something from the Ministry of Long-Term Care, Ministry of Health, that shows that the current workforce is being supported more aggressively. Um,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's the issue. Now, now we understand that the current focus is from the Ministry of Health is opening long-term care facilities. It's what they've been announcing 4 years ago that they're actually now officially opening them now. So this is nothing new.
No,
But there's been no corresponding discussion or investment or language around making a healthy, stable staffing environments. There seems to be no interest in that whatsoever. It's more about this. It's more about hitting the 4 hours of care, and I want to go into that in a minute. So,
yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I think I feel for my fellow veteran PSWs. As you guys know, 20 years myself as a PSW. It's working as a PSW, no matter where you work, is not an easy job. It's very difficult, and to continually see these quote unquote new incentives, which are not new, continue to roll out for these new graduates, it's just creating some serious discord on the front line when these new graduates are coming into the field, and these PSWs, rightfully so, are ticked off, but they shouldn't be taking it out on the new graduates. I mean, really,
yeah.
at the end of the day, it's about, the government needs to be, they pie on their face at this point.
Well,
That's the way I
then you cross into the intersecting issue is the OSAP issue when it comes to private career colleges, for example. So now, not only some of these individuals are going to have massive debt, will the incentive outweigh that debt? I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know either. And then,
Excuse me.
so I love that we want to get into the 4 hours of care, because I think I say it enough times when I do my
Well,
TikTok live.
the reason I want to get into 4 hours of care because this is the mandate that the current policy is trying to say is that 4 hours of care is protecting the PSW. That is your incentive. That is the benefit you're getting is that they have this 4 hour of care guarantee because that shows that you're getting that they care about the PSWs. Now, when they introduced that legislation, that's really what it was. We thought it was going to be 4 hours of PSW care, not aggregated against dietary recreation against
Nursing, rec,
everything
yeah.
the spectrum. And the reason I want to talk about this is because in the news we have Sudbury countryside has been shut down because of violations, and these violations were bed sores, care violations, and yet the Sudbury long-term care home had 4.68 hours of care.
I call BS. I digress.
Okay, you know what? No, I disagree. I believe that they have 4.6 hours of care. It's not a question about this. Okay, I believe they did that. My thing is, what use is that then?
Okay, so okay,
Okay.
granted they did, but again, Ian, going back to, and I know you giggle at me all the time when I or laugh, sorry, when I say this, and that is I still don't quite understand what that 4 hours of
That,
care means,
that's
because
my point. Yeah,
and that's the point, is like,
yeah.
but how many hours of personal support, and how many hours of rec, and how many hours of nursing, and how many hours of dietary, like nobody, and the interesting part is, and I can share this with our audience, I have asked this question
Oh,
to
no.
all levels of government and public, asking for some sort of official breakdown as to this 4 hours of care. And not one bloody person can give me a solid, this is what it is.
If someone in the Ministry of Long-Term Care wants to provide that, we're always open to have a look at that equation and to see it because
Absolutely.
I mean the 4 hours of care thing and to this point you have the ministry saying that 4 hours of care is the minimum standard. This is something that they're bragging about. This is obviously they've solved the PSW employment crisis because we have a surplus. We have such a surplus of PSWs that they'll have the We Begin programs to move some of them into nursing, obviously because there's so
Good on
many.
nurses. Good on nurses. I'm being serious, not
Oh, no,
sarcastic.
seriously, no. I mean,
Yeah. It's a
this
good
is a
program.
pathway to PSWs. It is the We Begin program. So if you're PSW, you need to know about that. Contact We Are PN. They will tell you everything you need to know about them.
Yeah.
Um, but with regards to this 4 hours of care, I think this is where I'm really, really concerned because there's too many incongruities with this. You have the Ministry of Long-Term Care saying you need to have 4 hours of care. They're closing down a home that had 4.6 hours of care because of care issues. The union itself, which I agree with in this case, is actually correct on this point. Where is management listening to this point where they're with even the 4.68 is an exceeding government mandates and they're still being busted. The 4 hours of care is useless. It doesn't
All
measure.
it is, and
Need
it goes
ratio.
back to our whole battle that you and I have been talking about forever and a day, is ratios. And yes, we're going to talk this to death, because that is the only common sense answer.
Yeah.
because not only will it decrease burnout for personal support workers, it will increase care for the residents in these long-term care homes. And for these, ministers and government to ignore that fact that ratios is the answer and to throw numbers. Like, I remember they did something years ago, but it would take 6 minutes per resident in long-term care. Okay, granted, I remember that way back in the day, and I believe a union did that, and that was brilliant. But it still correlates to, you need ratios. Like, how can an employer, this is what goes through my mind, even when I worked in long-term care, the smallest amount of residents that I cared for was 12 residents, and that was the norm back in, from 2006 to 2014. Like, that was the norm back then, and it's still the norm, if not more now.
Oh,
But what
absolutely.
always blew my mind is when they would say to me, well, it's up to the employer how many residents a PSW can handle per shift. I'm sorry, is that employer on the floor with those PSWs? Do they know the varying degrees of different medical issues that you are looking at in one, hallway in long-term care? They don't.
Well,
They
and how
just
could
think
they?
bottom line,
Well, how
money.
could they? How can they? How can any? And this is back to the management. How would the management planning team have any real knowledge of what's going on a floor where you have one PSW communicating for 20 patients? Like what, how much quality information is that PSW able to provide to the management, if assuming the management is interested in listening and planning to take active change as a result of what they're being reported to? Those are the real issues I think that we're seeing disconnect. Now, the homes that we've been visiting recently, just to show the other side of things,
Yeah.
um, we've been visiting a lot of homes in the GTA that have been absolutely amazing. The staff seem happy. I mean, they have good ratios, but it's the ratios you can see. You can see that there are enough staff to cover the individuals that they're housing. They're providing care. The people look happy, but we're seeing too many issues right now across Ontario. In smaller communities, it seems to be where these regulations are absolutely useless. Like
Oh,
so.
it's unbelievable that the hierarchy I find in more so the rural areas in these long-term care homes is disgusting.
Well,
I mean, you and I, and I'm not talking every home, but I'm saying a lot of them, we do see that hierarchy, siloing kind of
oh yes,
mentality
yeah,
where, the executives are the executives and the PSWs are just the PSWs. And it's like, no, 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 no. See, this is like, we're dealing with human life. We're dealing with a lot of times end of life. This is their last stop shop, long-term care, and these residents deserve nothing but the best care for what they have contributed to society. And instead of looking at that, everyone's looking at the bottom line, everyone's looking at money, everyone's looking at how to save a buck. And it just blows my mind that in a society like Canada, that I believe that in Canada we put people first. That's how I grew up in this country. We are now suddenly not caring about these individuals that we should be.
no,
Like, and,
Bernie,
and and not only that, we're not caring about the residents, and then in coinciding to that, we're not caring about the PSWs. These people that are putting their necks out every single day for these individuals, and they're there and they're fighting through massive heat waves. They're fighting through, C. diff, COVID, everything else, and they are there. That is the one steady thing we have seen is personal support workers in these homes and on the ground going home to home in Ontario. So where's the co-assigning respect and recognition for these individuals?
it's a
There
given,
isn't.
Bernie. It's assumed that they're just going to do it.
Yeah, but it's
That,
disgusting.
it's
It's
disgusting.
disgusting, and it makes me mad, but
Well,
that's
I
okay.
understand. No, it does. No, it does. But at the
Yeah.
end of the day, I think what we're looking for, I think it's the Fixing Long-Term Care Act does need to be revisited. I think we need to have implement a ratio element into that, or at least make some regulatory changes, recommendations. The chances of that happening, very little, but we
Oh
do
yeah.
need to push for it regardless. It's
Absolutely. Just like the
it
continuing to fight for ratios, the continuing to fight for, better working conditions, because it all coincides, like you and I say, at the end of the day, this is a patient-centered care aspect. This
it
is how
is.
it needs to be. And at the association, we always go back to patient-centered. We're very much a patient-centered organization. And so if the PSWs are doing good, so are the residents, so are the clients, so are the
That's it.
patients.
That's it exactly. Yeah. No, and then that, and that's and I think that's what we're trying to build as an association, and it's really trying to encourage PSWs to be aware of these things. We know that the 4 hours of care is not anything of use
No,
with regards to this, and yeah,
it's
it's
disappointing,
nuts and
but
it's disappointing, and the incentive is kind of a for PSWs that did not take advantage of that and who have worked and are borrowed money to become PSWs who don't have title protection, which is the other side of this. The government's not willing to protect the title of the PSWs who've paid for the graduation. So they're like, well, we're willing to let you borrow money to go to school to become a PSW. Okay, that'll be debt. But when you graduate that title, we're not going to protect it for you. So you're going to have to compete with anyone else that decides that they're going to be a PSW.
Oh, bango.
And right now in home care, you can self-declare yourself to be a PSW. Anyone can declare themselves to be a PSW. And PSWs who are graduating from colleges, I'm not trying to tell you not to go to colleges, but this is please join the association. This is what we're working towards. It is this title protection element to protect the investments that you made. And I think that's really the core element in the real weakness that we're having in long-term care is that we keep that title is so fluid that that 4 hours of care can be delivered by anybody.
Yeah, no, and you
That's
make
the
a very
problem.
valid point.
And I think that this is the disconnect. Now, it's infuriating though. I mean, but in terms of being, what can you do to change it? We need to advocate for regulatory changes. We need to show that this is actually a profession, and this is why making sure people are aware of what the HESCAPOA is doing, what we're trying to do, and establish some hope in this.
There is hope, but there is hope because I will tell you guys, when I became a PSW in 2006, there was nothing out there for PSWs.
No,
There really was nothing. There was nothing for PSWs. And so now there is. There's us.
yeah,
And we have done a lot of good in the past 16 years. We've put PSWs on the map. We've advocated for PSWs. We've really been front and center. And we do get a lot of questions of, well, what are you guys doing about it? We're doing this because, a lot of the things that we talk about or I talk about, nobody wants us to talk about because this is Ontario's dirty little secret, right? No one really wants us to talk about this stuff, and by talking about it we make the public aware, and when the public becomes aware then suddenly changes have to occur, and we've seen that, Ian, because you and I have been successful just with our advocating to helping enact some changes in some long-term care homes as of late. So it's it's one step at a time, but where PSWs are concerned, we need to squash this culture of fear with the PSWs, and they need to understand that they hold more power than they realize that they do. That's
I
really
agree.
where it's at. I mean, for so many years, the PSWs were downtrodden, pushed upon, treated like crap in a lot of places, because we don't have title protection. We are now being regulated. Hopefully that comes with the title protection. But now is our opportunity. You guys need to lift your heads
Mhm.
and say, I am a PSW and good luck doing the job without me.
Exactly.
Because a lot of people don't want to do what we do. And it's a special skill, and not just anybody can do what we do. So be proud of that. Lift your
Absolutely.
heads up. Don't look down. Forget the hierarchy. Be proud of who you are. Yeah,
Absolutely. No, it's a tough one. So I mean, for PSWs, for those of you who felt you've been negatively impacted, for example, by these incentives and that you're not being treated, you have us to contact, but you also have your local members of provincial parliament who need to hear about these issues. I know this sounds like a cop out, but this is the truth that these do need to be recorded at your local level, and these feelings do need to be resonated through that. We can only do so much. We do rely on our membership and our public community to raise these issues as well, and to take some action as well, like we do to help us out as well. Um,
exactly.
so
Exactly.
it's an interesting week. So, however, kudos to CESPA. They got their 18 million. So this is going to be free PSW programs for the CESB A programs across Ontario, which is good news. So that's something positive. And yeah,
Got
so
a couple things for housekeeping that I just got to run through really,
oh
really
yeah, sure, go
quickly.
ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. I just want to mention that. So we were made aware yesterday, if you guys were not on TikTok or seeing our Facebook page here, that certain preceptors in certain homes across
Oh,
Ontario are asking for money from PSW students when requesting a reference. So when the PSW students go to them and ask for a reference for them for when they start trying to find work, these preceptors are asking for money. I'm going to make two very big points. Number one, it's illegal. You cannot be asking for money for references. That is absolutely disgusting. Number two, I'm in utter disbelief that people would be doing this. I mean, honestly, guys, when it came across our desk, we didn't believe it initially, but then there was enough that we had to believe it.
well, when you have comments saying you just become aware of this now, we're like, what are you talking about? This has been like, we can't know everything. Sorry, I'm a
I
human.
mean, yeah, guys,
Like,
yeah. It's unless you guys tell us, like, and this is why that we make ourselves available on TikTok and Facebook often enough because we want you guys to tell us this
we need to know
information so
this
that
stuff.
we can, call out the bullies, call out the BS, and hopefully put a stop to this, or at least, shame those that are doing this bad stuff. And so if this is happening to you, if this has happened, if this is something you have witnessed, please reach out to the
Yes.
association because we need the data in order to go to the government with this. Because if you don't think we're not going to, we are.
Well,
So, yeah,
this has to be reported. You also have to take and report it as well back to your MPPs. You're paying to go to these programs, regardless of they're administrated and organized by the government. And yet within this government licensed programs, you're being asked to create illegal, give illegal bribes to get your preceptor. This is
to
not
give
done.
you a
This is
reference,
not
it's
done. I've
disgusting.
never heard of this. I've
Disgusting.
never heard of
No,
this.
I
Uh,
don't either. But I hate to say it, Ian, I'm not surprised.
Surprised when I heard it. I'm like, yeah, I could see that happening.
Yeah, I could see that
Yeah, I can
happening.
totally see this happening. So for students out there, and I know we're not going to hit all the students, but we probably should put this in an email and into a web, an email blast. But you are not to pay your preceptors for your
Anything.
reference letters. Okay. Okay. Now, if the preceptor says, I can't give you a reference because you didn't do a good job, that's between you and your preceptor. Okay. But preceptors, you shouldn't be selling references.
That's disgusting.
It's disgusting and it's
It's
disgusting.
immoral.
It's immoral.
It's I have so many words for it. It's just wrong on so many
But
different
they're learning
levels.
it. But I mean, it's a culture of it's being tolerated, obviously, by elements in the facilities that this is happening in. So, obviously, in the facilities where this is happening, there's a culture where there's a permission structure for these preceptors to do this.
Yep.
So
And I got
someone said it was okay.
one more announcement.
Okay.
We were made aware of a survey that is going around by a particular union to particular union members regarding the startup of a possible another PSW association in Ontario. We just wanted to let everyone know that we know about it. We fully disagree. It'd be like somebody being like, I'm going to start up a nursing association. You cannot do that. We already exist. We are embedded in government. We are in legislation. We are in policies. OPSWA is it here in Ontario for PSWs. And one of their things was, if you guys want to be involved in the association, you can be. It doesn't matter if you're unionized or not, you can still
Yes, you
join the
join.
association. And we do have a council you can sit on, and you can have a say in what happens in your association in Ontario. This association is owned by you guys, regardless if you're a member or not. So we just wanted to make everybody aware that we know. We
Well,
know.
yeah, and then I think there's also a growing appetite. I think, especially when you're looking at an American union trying to set up a PSW association. This is a union based in Michigan, trying to organize an association because the homegrown Canadian association doesn't align with an American principle. I have questions about why we're going down this road in Ontario. So I call the Minister of Long-Term Care to follow their own advice when it comes to protecting Ontario workers. So we should be building our own unions here in Ontario for PSWs that are
Absolutely.
homegrown and getting rid of these American unions because there's no need. We have no need for American union input in our healthcare system. None.
Only Canadians, no Canadians.
I
So
agree.
just like only
We don't.
PSWs, fully understand PSWs.
They can wear. I know they can raise the flag, but they're foreigners. Sorry. This is a
Yeah,
foreign union, foreign interference in our government affairs, and that's how I feel.
exactly. Exactly. Okay, well, that's what I wanted to point out. So just guys, just so you guys know, we're transparent. So I let you guys know that we know. So no need to keep sending us the emails and letting us know this. But I appreciate you guys giving us a heads up on this. We are very confident that you guys are quite happy with the association. If you're not, I'm sure you guys will let us know. If there's anything else that we need to, and they do, if you guys want to add that, what more we can do for you, please also let us know. We always have our door open for that. I hope you guys all have an absolutely fantastic weekend. It's beautiful out today. I hope it's beautiful out for the rest of the weekend, whether you're working or not. Thank you very much for joining us. And yet again, another PSW podcast. We'll be back again, I believe, next Friday for the Labor Day long weekend PSW podcast. So I hope you guys have an absolutely wonderful weekend. Thanks very much for joining us. Remember, if you're not a member yet, make sure to head over to our main profile here on Facebook or on TikTok. You'll see our website. Click there. It's all self-explanatory from there. We hope you guys join us because remember, if you're not an OPSWA member, you're not protected. So thanks very much for joining us, guys. Thank you, Ian, yet again. And with that, we're going to say OPSWA out.